You are listening to part 16 of the podcast series, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Law number 16 is the law of the Big Mo. The law of the Big Mo says momentum is a leader's best friend. I have found this to be very true. In fact, with momentum, here's what I have found. With momentum, you can solve problems so much easier than if you don't have momentum. Many times, the only difference between winning and losing is momentum. Momentum allows you to be successful for a longer period of time. Momentum makes leaders look better than they are. When you've got momentum, people think you're better than you really are. But when you lack momentum, just as positive momentum exaggerates things in a positive way, negative momentum exaggerates things in a negative way. So, no momentum makes leaders look worse than they are, and no momentum makes followers perform worse than they are. In other words, momentum is the great exaggerator. If you've got it, you look better than you really are. If you don't have it, you look worse than you really are. With momentum, it takes less energy to solve problems. What discourages organizations more than anything else is problems. What discourages people more than anything else is problems. And so what happens is that when problems begin to bog you down, it seems like momentum begins to ebb. Now, the reason for that is the fact that the problem becomes bigger than the momentum instead of the momentum becoming bigger than the problem. So let me explain to you the difference. Here's the difference. Managers deal mostly with problems. That's just the nature of who management is. They deal a lot with problems. And nothing wrong with that because you got to deal with problems. Where management deals with problems and works on problems, what I found is leaders, they work on momentum. Leaders know that if they can create momentum, many of the problems they have in their organization will be solved. Let me explain to you what I mean. Here we go. A train going down the track 55 miles an hour can crash through a 5-foot-thick concrete wall, steel reinforced. It'll crash through that concrete wall and just keep on going. Why? Because it has momentum. It's moving down the tracks. A 5-foot-thick concrete wall, steel reinforced, can't stop that train because it has momentum. That same train stopped dead on the track without any momentum at all. You can put a 1-inch block in front of the driving wheels, and that same train that could crash through a 5-foot-thick concrete wall, steel reinforced, that same train with a 1-inch block in front of its driving wheels cannot even get started. This is a huge example of momentum. It works the same in companies. If you've got momentum in your company, you know what you can be doing if you've got momentum? You can smash through a 5-foot-thick concrete wall, steel reinforced problem and keep on going. If you don't have momentum in your company, there could be a 1-inch problem and you can't even get started. So you've got to get on the momentum side. And leaders understand that. Leaders realize that you've got to work on momentum. If you want to be successful, you've got to work on momentum. So how do you move the Big Mo? How do you get it going? Number one, understand the value of momentum. When you're losing momentum in your organization, call timeout. It's time to huddle. It's time to talk about the issues. Don't put your head in the sand and act like it's not happening. Say, look, we're not doing well. Let's talk about it. Let's turn this around. Let's get the Big Mo going for us. So, number one, understand its value. Number two, figure out what the motivating factors are in your organization. Just figure them out. There are certain things in your organization that motivate your people. You say, as a leader, I don't know what they are. It's very simple. Ask your group. Get to your team. If this is my leadership team, I'm going to go down. I'm going to say, okay, let me ask you a question. What motivates you? What really gets you excited? What gives you energy? They're going to tell you. They'll tell you what motivates them. They'll tell you what momentum they need in their life to go forward. So figure out the motivating factors. Number three, remove the demotivating factors in your organization. What I'm saying is leaders instill motivating factors to get the momentum going, and they remove demotivating factors. Number four, schedule times for direction and celebration. In other words, when you win, have a party. When you have a party over a victory, at the end of that party, say, you know what? Let me share with you where we want to go next. Always give direction at your celebration times. Always say, this is our next level. This is where we're going to go. Because the people they already have momentum. They feel they can win. They feel successful. They feel good about themselves. They've got a victory under the belt. That's the time to give them the next challenge. Number 5, recognize and honor people who move the ball forward. Very simply put, find the people who move the ball forward, give them the credit, recognize them, get them up in front of the people. Very important. And number 6, practice what I call character leadership. Character leadership is when I lead with enthusiasm and hope, and the future doesn't seem very bright. In other words, the average person, when things don't look good, they sag. Leaders and move forward and get positive, and they lead whether they feel good or not.